2. Actually, I have no idea how long it takes. It's anywhere between 5 and 10 seconds or 15 seconds. So we're going to drag it out for the full 15. Okay, there's the 15-second mark. It's definitely on now. So everybody, wow, we've got a nice big crowd today. So I'm just going to zoom this around so everybody can say hello if you want to say hello. And then all the way, 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 all the way. Oh, look. Hi. So this is Utah Node.js, and today we've got Paul Milham presenting. For those of you that are on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, if at any point you find this to be useful, please go ahead and give it a big fat thumbs up. If otherwise, give it a thumbs down because every thumb helps. And there should be a link in the doobly-doo to Utah Node.js if you want to subscribe. Otherwise, just check out, do the Google searches for Utah Node.js and you'll find it. And with that, Paul, why don't you take it away for us?
Hey, I'm Paul Milham. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm presenting on Fastify, and I have a couple of disclaimers before we start. First, when I write slides late at night, I had really dumb stuff in there to keep myself entertained. Most of those things persisted into the final presentation, so if you enjoy them, that's good. Okay, second, I still think of myself as a developer, but I've been off that track for a little bit. So if you see something wrong, just be nice. Just keep it now. You can correct me if I say something wrong. Okay, and third, this is a volunteer thing, so I animated like every element of this presentation, and nobody can stop me. So where do we get going? Okay, so we're talking about Fastify. Okay, bam. Did you see that? Okay. So who is this guy? All right, so here's a photo of me, if you haven't seen me. This is back when I was full of life. That's my name, Paul Milham. And, I forgot to say, there is a picture of cheese on every slide. So if you see them all, you get a prize. It's a slice of pizza. Okay, so you can hit me on Twitter at Domrain. Okay, I'm hiring. So I have a lot of positions open. And if you want one of those positions, please come talk to me. I'll be here hanging out. Front end, React Native, full stack, Node.js backend. Okay, so what's Fastify? Okay, so this is going to be some kind of obvious stuff, but Fastify is a Node.js web server framework, or a lot of those, but it's also written in JavaScript, which is unusual for a Node application. One of the things that's kind of cool about it is it's fast, and they have the benchmarks to really show how fast it is. If you go to the site, go to the documentation, you'll see they have it all benchmarked out and everything, of the contrived benchmarks they performed. It is the fastest, and so, I don't know, it's always nice to be fast. Okay, so this is one thing that's really cool that I like about it. Fastify just comes with a lot of stuff that you would want. I like Express, and Express is good, but Express does not, right? So that's one of the things we're going to focus on here. So
it hasn't been updated in over 5 years, so there's that.
So Fastify, yeah, just a lot of stuff that you would be like, I need this middleware, I got to install this plugin, whatever. A lot of that stuff you're just going to get out of the box with Fastify, which is great. And also, it's full of cheese. Okay, so now if you go to the website, Fastify has a couple like core features or guiding principles that the maintainers espouse. So we'll run over those really quick. So highly performant. Basically all of the choices they've made in Fastify for like the underlying libraries, all of that stuff, they've chosen a lot of them because they're fast. They're also good in a lot of other ways, but performance is always on the mind of the maintainers. So extensibility is another big thing. You'll be able to see that through like the plugin architecture, the hooks, decorators, all of those kind of things. They also say it's schema-based, and what they mean here is Fastify validates data coming in using JSON schema, and then it serializes all of your replies on the way out. And this is really cool, so I'm going to spend some time talking about this later. Okay, but that's what they mean by schema-based. Okay, data in, out, validated by schemas. Okay, so they also have logging in here. I don't know why they put that as a core feature, but basically the logging is very lightweight. And so I guess the theory here is people avoid logging because it's performance heavy. Developer friendly, so it definitely is. I like it. I like working with it. And you can see this through the documentation as well. Really good documentation, though if you go exploring the documentation, you'll see it's written by people whose first language is not English, so you'll see typos and things like that every once in a while, but developer friendly and TypeScript ready. So I was kind of joking about JavaScript before. It is written in JavaScript, but they maintain really good def files. So you get all the autocomplete and everything that you've come to expect. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? So any good getting started guide, right, or intro to X framework is going to have a quick start. So we'll cover that. I'm going to walk through the request lifecycle. So this is actually really cool. There's a well-defined request lifecycle, reply cycle. So you can see every step through the framework. What's happening to your data, what's happening to your request, and more importantly, there's hooks into all those pieces, which is super nice. Okay, validation, talked about that a little bit before, we'll cover that. Lightly touch on async await support, and then I want to talk about the ecosystem. Okay, so the quick start. So if you're familiar with Express.js, this is instantly going to look pretty familiar, right? So we've got some I don't know, basic stuff here. The bare bones server, like I said, right? This is a hello world. But, we instantiate Fastify, we declare a route, and one thing about this is you can see they added some of the helper methods that Express exposes as well, right? So you have a .get, and that allows you to define a get route. You don't have to do it this way, and in fact, I would recommend you don't do it this way, but if you're used to Express, this is just a really easy way to do it. And then, so you set up your route, you tell it to listen, and then you go, right? So this would run, you could hit it, and, get this hello world JSON back. Okay, like I said, it also has async await out of the box, which is really nice. So, it is actually a couple lines longer, but I think it's much more intuitive to just return something from a function than actually pass a value to a callback. So you can see that that's just supported right out of the box. There's no plugins, nothing like that, right? So just an async function, and it just works. I didn't have to call next, anything like that, okay? Okay, so Fastify, you can add routes using the convenience methods that I showed earlier, but this is actually, I think this is a better way to do it. So if you've used Happy or something like that, this might look a little more familiar to you. But I can just pass this object in, right? And then it has these certain properties on it. And, I can use those. I'm going to stand up and point to things for a second. So a lot of this is self-explanatory, but it's really nice. So like I've got my method up here, my URL, those are obvious. But then I've got my schema object in here. And so a couple of things to point out is there are different pieces of the schema, right? And so I talked earlier that validates coming in, serializes going out, right? And there's a lot of advantages to that, and we'll talk about that later, but I have my query string, and my schema validators, they're just JSON, right? And that's the cool thing about JSON. Well, I guess technically this isn't JSON, but they're just POJOs right here, right? And so then I have my response, and my response is actually serialized on the way out by HTTP response code, right? So that's really cool as well. This is an example of a hook here, the pre-handler. So we'll talk about hooks more in a minute, but you can just define any hooks you want for this specific route. And then this is like where the business happens, so down in the handler. I like defining them like this, like an object. It makes testing a lot easier. I find it really easy to read. So there's a lot of advantages to doing it this way. Okay. All right, sorry. Okay, so Fastify has a well-defined request lifecycle with common sense hooks. Boom, I said that. Okay, good. Because it's true. Okay, so we'll talk about it a little bit more. So this, sorry AJ, I'm gonna keep making you move the camera. This thing is amazing though, right? Like, so I don't know. It might just be because I'm not especially smart, but like I would get into an Express application and I'd just be like, what the heck is happening at this point to my request? Okay, like I didn't necessarily know in what order the middlewares were being added or anything. So this is really nice, one, because it's just in the documentation. Like it's super clear. Like my request goes through these phases and then I send that sucker out, right? And along with that, you'll notice like at all these vital steps, right, there are hooks, okay? So like my data validation happens here, which is really obvious because it says validation, right? So if I wanted to do something before the data validation happens, there's a hook for that, right? And so I'll show you how to add hooks in a second, but I just add a hook, do my thing, and it moves on. And I don't have to like look through all my middleware and find out where I need to inject this hook or something like that. But like it's really easy. I just add a pre-validation hook. So there's other nice stuff too, like pre-serialization or on-send. These ones, the names are a little funny, right? On-send versus on-response. But so on-send, if you want to manipulate the response before you send it out, you can do that. So that's what that is. On-response is after it's sent. So that's like, you do metrics or something like that. Or just if you want every single request that comes in on request, you can use that hook as well. That's really nice. I've used that to like, attach IDs to requests or things like that. But it's just super simple, straightforward, and you don't have to like wonder about what's going on. It's all well defined. So this is just a list of like the request and reply hooks. So a couple we didn't see on there are on error, on timeout, but these are, I don't know, like that quote I made up. They're just common sense and they're useful. That's what I really like about it. And adding a hook is super basic and easy as well. So this is going to be a global level hook that on every single request it's going to run this code. Again, you can see it supports async await, which is really nice. And I didn't have to do anything funny like with my middleware. I didn't have to understand like res next. I didn't have to like forget to call next and destroy my server. Like you can just use an async method and it works, which is pretty nice. Okay, what's on this one? Okay, all right. So request validation and reply. I think I got every animation in Keynote in here. Not the transitions for the slides, but bouncing things around. Okay, so request validation. So like I said before, based on JSON schema, so this is kind of a thing for me, right? Validating your data. Express is amazing because there's no validation by default and everyone uses it. So that's great. So you should be validating your data. And I don't mean like throwing a parse int, right, in your handler. So everything coming into your application, you should know what it is. For sure, you should know what it is. Okay, it should fit within a predefined range of expected values. If you don't do that, I can promise you, you're going to run into security. You're going to run into stability issues. So anyway, I'm not saying anyone's stupid, but don't be stupid. Okay, validate your data. You should be doing this all over your code, actually, but especially at your API boundaries. Okay. Okay, so now reply serialization. So these two are separate, right? So the validation is coming in, the reply is on the way out, and they behave a little bit differently, and I'll explain that in a second. So did you guys see that burning animation?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this also uses JSON schema. And that's nice because even though they're separate libraries that handle the validation and the serialization, they share schemas. So they're both JSON schema compliant. It's just a standard. It's not something like, the Fastify guys made up or anything like that. So you can share the schemas. And the other thing that's nice about it is there's a whole ecosystem around
MacBook Max, and it's gonna have ports.
Nice.
So I have to run the power into the camera and the microphone. It's gonna be amazing.